Good morning, good evening, good night. It's currently 8 a.m. and I spent the past 2 hours trying to record this video correctly. And I really hope it turns out nicely this time around. I basically wrote an essay about the wisdom I gained throughout the most transformative year in my life, which I would really like to share. And I hope that you guys watching can take some takeaways from it. Be gentle with me. This is my first time speaking publicly in English and my first time recording in English. So if I mispronounce something, just know English is not my native language. And I would say, without further ado, let's get it started. For 20 years, I lived in survival mode, on the constant chase of excitement, adventure, perfection, beauty, romance, prestige, status. It took me 20 years to figure out life wasn't a picture you could paint perfectly. Life is a never-ending drama of an exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and its catastrophe resolution in the end. And then it turns back to an exposition after a while. This structure is inevitable, as we as humans are meant to evolve, and there's no real growth without wisdom that is being gained within the structure. You can't decide against growth, as it's a law of nature, and therefore you cannot skip any of those passages. But you get to decide if each and every drama within your personal lifeline unfolds into a catastrophe or a resolution, determining your next upcoming exposition. And as I'm willingly deciding against a vicious cycle of catastrophes and calling it my life, I might share some wise truths I had to learn in the hardest ways imaginable. I wanted to die to escape this vicious cycle, this misery, for almost 20 years. But I get the chance to rewrite my story, getting on the joyful side of life instead of being stuck in survival mode and manifesting on the lowest frequencies of fear, stress, shame, guilt, hopelessness, and grief, even more miseries. You attract what you are, and I'm someone who decides against catastrophes and on resolutions from now on. I hope your catastrophes will teach you life is actually the gift of the possibility to evolve in any way possible and determine a whole new exposition that you get to create yourself over and over again. But before we begin, there's a simple exercise you can do to check if you are striving or surviving in life. Check your breath. Do you take short, superficial, or long, deep breaths in this very second? You should be relaxed as you're only watching YouTube. Here are my truths. Number 1, discipline is found in patience. For the past 20 years, I've been a sprinter. I guess that is the Aries in me. I wanted to outrun each and every challenge in life, to get ahead to the top as quickly as possible. I think most young people struggle with that bias created by hustle culture in this day and age, as if we only have the shortest period imaginable to master life. I never gave myself time to figure any challenge out. I had to master it perfectly first try. Unfortunately, that mindset will get you absolutely nowhere. At least it never got me personally anywhere. Maybe there are some exceptions to this rule. You won't turn your bad math grades into top tier ones just by cramming the night before the exam. You won't lose that 3 kg within a week if doing it sustainably. You won't heal your relationship with food overnight. And you won't build in today and for all the days of my life bonding within 1 week of dating that guy you matched on Hinge with. Stop the rush. That is an illusion created by hustle culture that I got blinded by. It's a progress, and most of the times you will have to face setbacks within it. Be kind, gentle, and mostly realistic with yourself. You don't earn the fruits the day you plant the seed. Take one step at a time, making simple decisions that lead you in the right direction. Another truth that is closely tied to the first one. Perfectionism does not exist. It is an idea, an illusion you make up in your head that is stopping you instead of guiding you. For the longest time, I was holding on to perfectionism. I wanted to master it all: my academic life, training 7 times a week, my social life, looking perfectly, working as many shifts as possible a week. You get the idea. I was too stubborn to admit I couldn't handle it all at once. There are only 24 hours within a day, and even if I would minimize my sleep to 5 hours a day, which I don't intend to do, and wouldn't have wasted a single minute on doom scrolling, I still wouldn't be able to manage it all. No one does. Those expectations I put onto myself kept me in survival mode and gave me dysthymia. I tried to earn my self-worth by balancing as much as possible at once. And it took me 20 years to realize I never had to prove myself to me nor to anyone. I just had to be. Number 3. Going through anorexia and bulimia in the past year, I had to learn the hard way that your habits really determine the quality of your life. So in my personal case, it were the habits of food restriction and calorie counting, as well as overeating and compensating, that were not only ruining my physical and mental health, but also poisoning my social relationships with my family, my friends, my romantic partner, my coworkers, my sports teammates, and my academic career. It's a domino effect, and as soon as I was working on the cause of the effect, everything else started to realign again. Your habits are also being formed by your environment. I used to be habitually depressed in my hometown, as I didn't align with its energy. I really do believe each and every city has its own energy, and I knew I had to move away to reconstruct a new way of thinking and feeling. And at this point, even if my life is far from steady and perfect, I get to be happier than ever. If you don't have the privilege as me to basically escape your habits to form new ones elsewhere, you have to recondition yourself by breaking your repetitive loop. For instance, if you have a problem with pornography, you clearly should make it harder for you to access it by A. Deleting the browser or blocking the sites you used to visit, and B. Getting out of the room in your body position you used to be in when you were about to enter those sites. Due to repetition, you build an automatic mechanism you will have to intervene from now on. You can basically train your brain to form new habits. You're in control of your actions, and you have to get back into the seat of your prefrontal cortex instead of leaning into the animalistic part of your brain, watching the automatic mechanisms happen before your eyes. Number 4. There's no such thing as a loner. Yes, there definitely are introverts. I would count myself as one. But no human being could ever survive without genuine human connection and support. This again is a bias told by hustle culture. I'm 100% sure David Goggins wouldn't have gone through Navy SEIL training, graduated from Army Ranger School, or served in the Air Force TACP if he didn't experience a sense of belonging to a social collective. In my day-to-day life, it's exactly the same. My resources recharge from the sense of belonging to a swimming group, a working community, my family, or counting myself to a group of students. Number 5 is again closely tied to the aspect before. Great people receive help and actively ask for it. My entire life I refused to ask for all sorts of help, as I could manage it all alone. I really wanted to fit into the idea of a self-sufficient woman who could suffer in silence, never letting anybody know. I sabotaged myself by holding on to the hardest life possible when it could have been so easy by declining help and not actively asking for it. I myself have never declined my help to anyone. I am even proud of being able to help out emotionally, financially, or in any other way. Helping out creates a feeling of value, which is a common human need and source of emotional fulfillment. We all want to be needed, and we all want to be taken care of. To abolish the false narrative of self-sufficiency, we surely can be, but we don't have to prove it to anyone. And life can be way more enjoyable by minimizing the stress of having to do it all ourselves. Number 6. As someone who has had every physique that is humanly possible with my genetics, I can most definitely tell you that look maximizing won't create fulfillment. Showing up for yourself, creating discipline, staying focused on a goal, and overcoming your mental boundaries surely creates self confidence because you keep the promises you made to yourself. But doing it for a certain goal physique will do nothing but disappoint you, as your internal state isn't created by external factors but from within. I used to think that if I own a certain item, have a certain amount of money, accomplish a certain degree, get to know certain people, be in a happy relationship, or achieve a certain weight, I could finally be happy. And I've been through it all, and I always have been dissatisfied. I became greedy for more, even, until I lost everything at a certain point last year and had to realize that my internal state of happiness, calmness, and satisfaction can only be achieved from within, as long as my basic human needs are met. But there certainly are people who can decide on happiness even when those aren't met. I can't stress it enough. The narrative of achieving happiness by externalities told by capitalism is illusionary. Being healthy is the goal, not to be perceived in a certain way. And a body that is not sustainable in your day to day life is clearly not meant for you. Number 7. You're never sexualizing yourself just for yourself. But the term sexualizing yourself can be interpreted by each and everyone differently. You just gotta be brutally honest with yourself. Posting my personal fitness journey has nothing to do with sexuality for me. I get to be publicly proud of how far I came within the past year, and I truly am. As someone who had to struggle with narcissistic tendencies in the past, I used to over sexualize myself a lot. And while telling the world it was for female empowerment and I was allowed to do whatever I want with my body for myself, it factually never was for myself. I had lied to the world and mostly myself. I wasn't wearing clothing that was showing off my pink bra underneath just for myself. I was doing it for the attention from men and women that came along with it. And facing this truth really wasn't easy, but it had to be done. I still like to dress sexy and feminine from time to time, but in an elegant manner, not in a cheap one that is screaming for attention. I forgive my younger self. She didn't know better, and I move on gracefully. Number 8. There's no such thing as having it figured out. Due to social media excesses and self-staging on these platforms, we tend to believe a narrative which proves to be false. No one will ever publicly admit that they haven't figured it all out, as it creates vulnerability. We all have dreams we can and must pursue, as the point of life is lacking if we don't. But none of us can tell how life will unfold within the journey. We all struggle at each age, at each stage of life, and none of us has figured it out. And if you think you do, you hang on illusionary control that isn't given in life. Life is uncontrollable, our actions are. Number 9. In the past year, I was lacking structure from time to time whenever I didn't have a certain event coming up in a day, and it made me learn that everything I knew about time in school was wrong. You can structure your day however you want and restart your day in the evening or even noon if you had a shit morning. At this point, my morning starts at 5 a.m. as it works best for me, and I restart my day each and every day by 2 p.m. Number 10. Nothing builds self-confidence as much as keeping the promises you made to yourself. I used to not trust into my competences, my worth, my charisma, and my path in life in general. But after battling bulimia within the first half of this year, I got to trust myself as never before. I do still struggle around certain foods from time to time, but in a greater context, I really do trust myself. I know I won't binge if I tell myself I won't. And whenever I experience myself getting nervous around certain foods, I remind myself of the power I hold and what I already have been through. I know I will go train, even if I happen not to be in the mood to. I know I will sit down and study, even when the weather's nice and I would most definitely prefer to be moving outside. I know I will stay up at 5 a.m. to get all of my to-dos done as quickly as possible to have more room to enjoy myself throughout the day. I think as soon as you move away from home, you have no choice but to trust yourself. When I first moved to the place I'm currently living at, I had no one to help me out with my issues. Therefore, it was my responsibility to create a whole new identity myself, which I can proudly confirm I achieved. I pushed myself to work, to train, and to create a social circle, even when my mental health issue was peaking. And looking back, I could have been more sensitive with my expectations towards myself. But if I'm being honest, I can tell you I would have definitely spent my time binging instead of softening. So I am glad I pushed myself. It took me some time to embrace those habits and to hold the promise of not binging to myself. But as soon as I firstly realized I was capable of doing so, it marked a whole new era of my life. A new life I got gifted due to the worst circumstances I have ever experienced up to now. And I'm not willing to ever minimize myself, to stay quiet and not be publicly proud of the identity I created all by myself. I am my savior, the adult I wanted to guide and take care of me, and therefore I love who I am. I truly do. And if anyone is willing to project their insecurities upon me by thinking I'm being a show-off and self-centered, so be it. All those people who could possibly judge me today weren't there when I hit rock bottom about 1 billion times in the past year. I couldn't care less about what anybody thinks of me. I know exactly of what I'm capable of, and that is my superpower. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in part 2, and I wish you a nice day. See you.